Greetings and good morning. Welcome to the Little Rock, Fort Smith, Texarkana Army 245th Birthday Cake Ceremony. This ceremony is conducted across the U.S. and abroad. It commemorates the Army's achievements, the past, the present, and the future leaders, soldiers, and heroes of our country. I would also like to thank our community partners and paid partners. Thank you for your continued support of the Little Rock Company and Arkansas, the town. In addition, I would like to thank Lieutenant Governor Colonel Griffin, Major General Penn, Command Sergeant Major Vazzy, Army Arkansas Commissioner of Land, Mr. Tommy Land, Commissioner and Senator Jane English, and husband Colonel Retired English. And the Arkansas AUSA chaplain, thank you for attending in person. I would now like to turn it over to Captain Weber, the commander of Fort Smith Recruiting Company.
Good morning again. Thank you for joining us here as we celebrate the Army's 245th birthday. I'm the company commander for Fort Smith Recruiting Company. We control and recruit out of northwestern Arkansas, from Russellville up to Rogers and out to Mount Home. I'd also like to do a shout out. In Fort Smith, we are joined by our PACE partner ABF Freight with Mr. Tim Thorne, the president. Just like to say thank you for all the support that they give to the Army. Thank you for the support that all of you give to the Army across the great nation.
Now we would like to have Colonel Retired Terry DeWitt give the Army history and memories.
Hey, good morning. I wrote down a few things. They said I had 15 minutes, right? Just kidding.
Seconds, 15 seconds.
So when the American Revolution broke out, the colonies fielded an amateur force of militia companies across New England. Mr. Ward of Massachusetts exercised authority in an informal agreement, but officers and militiamen from other colonies were not obligated to follow his orders. The Continental Congress met in secret. They accepted the existing forces and made them official. They authorized enlisted men into 10 companies and of expert riflemen. On June 14th, 1775, the U.S. Army was born. These 10 new rifle companies were the first units of this new Continental Army. The intent was to have them serve at the Boston Siege. On 19 June, George Washington received his commission as Commander-in-Chief. He took command of Boston on 3 July, 1775. The Continental Army lost many battles in the Revolutionary War, but won enough of the ones that mattered. The rest is history. Of note, the earliest record militia organization in what's now called Arkansas occurred in 1780 when a French officer serving the Spanish monarchy organized 2 militia companies to aid in the defense of the posts of Arkansas. So the National Guard had an early start in 1780. 19th century, until 1812, the Army passed through swift periods of expansion and reductions, depending on the immediacy of the Indian and foreign threats. During the War of 1812, American forces weren't ready. They lost badly over and over. Attacking the British were unable to sustain their own effort in North America. At the end, a young country with the recently burned capital defeated British forces decisively in the Battle of New Orleans. Their victory underscored the news they received after the battle. While they'd been fighting, they'd already declared the war was over. In the early 20th century, the Army found itself involved in war in Europe. Artillery, automatic weapons replaced individual riflemen. Shooting one bullet at one time, aimed at one target, as the greatest killer on the battlefield. Armistice came in November of 1918, with the doughboys coming home after experiencing the horrors of modern warfare. During the interwar years, Army shrunk, small, but new equipment and new tactics emerged. December 7th, 1941, America entered World War II after the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. The U.S. Army conducted land warfare in North Africa. They went ashore in Sicily and mainland Italy. Then in France, 76 years ago this month, they participated in the largest ever amphibious assault on a defended shore, followed by land warfare across France, the Low Countries, and into the heart of Germany. At the same time, fighting side by side with U.S. Marines on Pacific Islands. The 90th Infantry Division, with its old headquarters at Camp Pike, was a strong force in World War II, and they hit the beaches with thousands of other Army personnel. The 90th has survived a few formational shifts as well. The Tough Hombres, as a sustainment command, deployed in Iraq in 2009 and 2010 in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. And I'd like to recognize the leadership of the 90th that's here today, the Command Sergeant Major, and the SSA that's here today. Thank you. Through the Cold War, Korea, Vietnam, the U.S. Army has stood strong. Vietnam saw the emergence of asymmetric warfare, air-land battle, air-mobile tactics, developed with helicopter assaults, Cobra gunships, combined with close air support. Our country changed again by seeing face-to-face war on television. The U.S. Army has a constitutional mandate to provide for the national defense. Deployments all on a volunteer force. From Grenada in 1983, Operation Urgent Fury, resisting the leftist coup and rescuing American students. Panama in 1989, Operation Just Cause, taking down Noriega. Kuwait, 1990, the first Gulf War. On 26 February 1991 in Kuwait, the coalition drove out the last invading Iraqi forces. To close out the 20th century in 1996 to 1999, Army was in Kosovo with NATO. This was in Yugoslavia as well as Serbia, Montenegro, and Albania. In the 21st century, we were attacked on 9/11 by non-nation state actors primarily based in Afghanistan. Our nation responded October 2001 with the global war on terrorism in Afghanistan. Then in Kuwait, again in March 2003, staging for a U.S.-led invasion of Iraq that led to the Second Gulf War. The Army conducted land warfare in the desert to lead to the disposition of Saddam Hussein. In 2018, we found the Army still in Europe, as well as Asia and Africa. We were still in Afghanistan, drawing down but not completely out. In 2019, we were rotating our National Guard units into Poland and Hungary and other former Warsaw Pact countries while maintaining continued presence of soldiers in AFRICOM, SOUTHCOM, CENTCOM, and the Middle East. And finally, today, the U.S. Army is deployed around the world defending America's freedom. Our soldiers, away from their loved ones, are armed with improved body armor, advanced equipment, including individual weapons. They stand guarding forces, known and unknown enemies of America. On behalf of Americans everywhere, happy birthday to the U.S. Army. Happy 245. Thank you very much.
Captain Monson, I failed to give you the cue card that said General Cox and Sergeant Major Megaloff from the 39th are here. Sir, thank you very much, Sergeant Major. Whoop.
We now have the word for remarks from Lieutenant Governor Tim Griffin.
Well, thank you all for letting me be a part of this. I love the Army. Joining the Army was one of the best things that I ever did back in 1996. I'm still in until they kicked me out. I think they gave me, when I made Colonel, I think they gave me 2 extra years. So I think I got 6 more years. But let me just comment on a few things here. First of all, I used to be at the 90th HUA twice. before it was a sustainment brigade. That's when they kicked us out of there, when y'all became a sustainment brigade. Also, my grandfather, on his way to World War I, went through what was then a big Camp Pike. It was before Camp Pike was split into mostly Camp Robinson and a little Camp Pike. Long time ago, and he made it back. He was from Magnolia. I want to say that these retirees here, still in your Class A's, hey, don't think that they're just blending in with a bunch of other soldiers. These are folks that are no longer actively serving, but they still fit in these uniforms. For everyone that still fits, there's at least a couple that don't fit. So hey, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And I appreciate y'all being here. I want to recognize, I know that Colonel English is going to get to, at least I think he's going to get to say a thing or two. He's not, well, it's good to see you here, Colonel English. But I wanted to recognize Senator English, who's a rock star in our Senate here, and Commissioner Tommy Land for being here. They're faithful to support the Army. I want to say that this about the Army. There's a lot of talk about the training. There's a lot of talk about what you get to do, where you get to go. That's particularly a big part of the recruitment push, right? You get to hang out in the woods and eat MREs. I know that attracts a lot of people. You get to shoot really cool weapons. You get to do all kind of cool stuff. You can even jump out of perfectly good airplanes. All of that stuff. But let me tell you, 24 years looking back, the best part of the United States Army are the people that you develop relationships with day in and day out, which I will say, in most cases, you never would have met. You never would have met, and you certainly never would have been shoulder to shoulder with them had you not joined the Army or your whatever service. And you're talking about an institution, an organization that brings people from all different backgrounds, all different walks of life, with all sorts of perspectives, and they put them in together. And you work together, and you learn from each other, and you learn to love each other. And I can tell you, looking back over each of the places that I've been, including the 90th, on both occasions, I think it was 01 and 09 maybe, I can't remember, 01 and 09, but on all of those occasions, I can think back to that funny person that I miss, or that person that I served in Iraq with that I still keep in touch with, Charles Bassinger, who lives in Michigan, who's from Alaska. Or whether it's Joel Starr that I met in 1998 in my reserve unit, the 10th LSO outside of Washington, and he was in my wedding. Whatever it is, it all boils down to the people who serve. They're what makes it special, and they're what makes it ultimately worth serving your country. So thank y'all. Happy birthday to the best service, the United States Army. Thank y'all.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now have Sergeant Ray Post. The two before you will represent the past and the future leaders of the U.S. Army.
Is he the past or am I the past? Yes, sir.
They will now symbolize this by cutting the Army cake, birthday cake.
Yes, sir.
You're going to cut all the individual pieces with it?
I hope we brought something,
Yeah.
sir.
Awesome. Thank you. There's two pieces.
Do we cut off?
Who wants each piece?
There's no plates.
That's a big plate. If you just keep cutting, you'll cut down. Sorry.
You will now play the Army song and sing the Army song.
The Lord, sing our song. We're the army of the brave. And today, after that, we just got our victory. We're the army and proud of our name. We're the army and proudly proclaim. We're to fight the others right and the day light. And the army is rolling along. The battle's won, and the army is rolling along. High, high, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the cadence, and strong. Wherever we go, you will always know that the army is rolling along. Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's Army Birthday celebration. Thank you for attending.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Hey, I haven't had my hair cut.
You're gonna get a rubber band.